Hey, everybody. Guess what time it is? It's time for a self-care and mental health break. Welcome to everybody watching. Please, please, please make sure you share this. Share this with all your friends. Send us some hearts and likes as always. Thank you for everyone joining. I see people popping in. So we're excited you're here. And as I always like to give this amazing count of, I really don't know what week it is, but we have been doing this for quite a while and just bringing some positivity and talking about self-care, mental health, and how important this is. So let's go ahead and bring my friends Patti and Lindsey on. Hello, friends. What's going on?
I love our matching shirts.
Match. Representing Rose Dynasty. I love it. And our red shirt Pride Day.
Mm-hmm.
We're just a few days late, but that's okay. It's Pride Month. We can totally
Pride Month. Yeah,
it is.
exactly.
It is. We always, of course, us three, we look forward to our chit chats, get together beforehand and online. So this is kind of like the highlight of all of our week to kind of catch up. And do y'all really have we count? Like, I really haven't counted. Is this like 9 or 10? I think.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and check. I really don't even know.
I guess since I have the record, what'd you say?
I think it's more than that.
Yeah, I'll have to go back because I've been back to work 5 weeks and we've done that. And then we probably did. Yeah, so it's probably in 12, 13.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go back and count. But I love it that we're having people from all over tune in and watch. And hi, Tasha. Tasha's joining us. Everybody, I got a whole list of people joining from all over, it looks like. Well, awesome. So what's new? What's going on?
Staying really busy. Celebrating all things Pride.
Yep.
Working as always. And then today being the great day of our self-care Thursdays.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What about you, Lindsey?
About the same. This week's been busy as well, client-wise, still getting those intakes. So it's just, again, proof that a lot of people are reaching out for mental health support. So again, if that's something you're thinking about doing, do it, because you are definitely not alone in that area. And I have people reaching out for so many different things, which I think is really interesting as well. And a really broad population. Usually I am like the kid person, and I have a lot more adults right now than kids. So parents, get the support that you need because we're here. We're ready.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Bobby, yes, it's available. They're all available on Facebook Live if you go back to our Facebook videos, or now we have YouTube. So if anybody that's watching they know somebody doesn't have Facebook, you can direct them to Rose Dynasty Foundation's YouTube, and some of them are up there. The live ones from the last 5 or 6 weeks are up there now. So yes, you can definitely catch up. So let's kind of get to the point. This week, of course, we know that the last several months there's been a lot going on. And in my conversation last night I had with Jennifer, we talked about the layers of stuff that's just piling up on people. This week is very somber and very pivotal in the LGBT community in Central Florida and around the world. Tomorrow marks the 4-year anniversary of the Pulse tragedy. I can't even say it without getting choked up. It's very near and dear to my heart for so many reasons, but very pivotal, very important. And I think we should recognize that. We should talk about it. Here it is in 14 hours, literally 14 hours from now, we'll mark the 4-year anniversary of this. And I know both of you were very instrumental in after that incident. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Mama Rose just said, I know even though Lindsey and I went to the same school, for those of you out there, we didn't know each other. She was a couple years ahead of me. When Pulse occurred is actually where I met Lindsey, ironically. For myself, I can tell you that I woke up to several texts and calls very early that morning because I've been involved in the LGBT community for several years. I've had friends since I was in high school that are still local in the community, and my heart sunk. I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of concern. I was texting, calling everybody and anybody. And my poor friends, I woke them up and they're like, what the heck's happening? And I immediately was out at that time. I met up at the LGBT center because I was very familiar with them and I knew they were going to be a central part for us to meet. But I was out there like 9:30 in the morning and it was chaos. Even when you were speaking with Jennifer last night, that's how I described it. It was chaos, but at the same time, I spent the first 2 weeks after everything happened going there in the morning, wherever they were sending me, whether it was a UU church, the hotel, the hospital, the LGBT center. Then I would go do my regular job, which at that time I was working with foster youth, and then I'd be out at the bars at night. Whether it was some nights or the P house, I was out there. And it was a very tiring experience, but it was also at the same time, I know this may sound weird to some of you, but it was a very rewarding experience. Some of my best memories is like being at the P house with, there was about 5 of us counselors, and really no one was wanting to engage. No one was wanting to talk. Everyone was in that, we always talk about fight and flight, but a lot of people were in the freeze.
Yeah.
They were just numb. So me and one of the other counselors, I said, hey, why don't we, because the free hug movement was really big at that point. And we just got paper and pen like you guys see us do here all the time. We got paper and pen with free hugs. And we just walked around and those were some of the best hugs I ever received. And just not even talking about what occurred during Pulse, just letting people vent, letting them tell me about themselves. We talk about time, getting it out is one of the best ways to process and heal. And I knew my job at that point wasn't to process everything going on, but to give people an outlet, to let them know that there were people that cared. So, and I always say, and I know it's cliche, but, reframing is one of the best things we can do for our own mental health. So when I tell people about, me being out at Pulse, they're like, oh, that must have been horrible, this and that. Yes, absolutely 100% it was. When I walked in that hotel room, those images will never leave my brain. Did I get counseling for it? Absolutely. Like Lindsey said, get counseling. Counselors get counseling.
Yeah.
So that will never leave my brain. The sight that I saw will never leave. But I also know that I saw so many therapy dogs. I got to see a therapy pony with butterfly wings. I met a therapy pig. Didn't know those existed. I met counselors from around the world and around this country that I still keep in contact with, that I never would have gotten to experience. I saw a community come together like I have never seen before. A lot of people behind the scenes, a lot of people don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And when you hear me say like I was shifted this spot, is because people were fleeing. They didn't know where to go, what to do. And so it took a little while to get organized. We were not prepared for that moment. Nice. I don't think even as much as work as we've done the last 4 years could ever prepare anybody for that moment.
No.
So, it has been a long road. Even after that, I did work with agencies to provide services to victims of Pulse and those affected by Pulse, and working through all of that trauma. Because I know, as you and Jennifer talked about, is the layers of trauma that everyone's going through. And for those that have been affected, whether it was primary or secondary from Pulse, when the anniversary hits, just like when you lose a loved one and they've died, that anniversary rolls around. It's just that kind of switch that kicks off for a little bit. And I think it's important, and we've talked about the emotional intelligence piece when we had crew on, is absorbing that, acknowledging it, and not trying to hide, because if you hide from it, it's just going to come back and kick in your butt twice as hard.
Right. Absolutely. Hey, Jennifer. Everybody's saying hi.
Hey.
So, and I think that's great insight, because I'm sure a lot of people didn't know the extent of what was going on, where you had to go and what you had to do. And I think it's definitely an important remembrance of that. And we'll touch more on that a little bit. Lindsey, what about you? Like, what was your takeaway and your experience with being able to be a part of that?
That was such a crazy, it's so crazy. Like my best friend and I were talking about it. We're like, oh, it's three. No, it's been 4 years. Like, how on earth has it been 4 years? Because talking about it, you talking about specific events, I'm instantly back there. I'm instantly in those feelings. I'm instantly remembering things. And it's so weird because I didn't get called to respond until Monday was the day that, and it was kind of an interesting experience for me because I was actually working in a new private practice and I was called by my old agency and they said, we need you. We need you to be a part of this. You are a part of our team. You'll always be a part of our team. Their mascot is a zebra. She's like, we need your stripes. We got to herd together. And so that actual Sunday, my best friend and I and one of our other really good friends, we were actually at Hollywood Studios. And it was one of the most surreal experiences of my life because us and cast members were crowded into one of the gift shops. And I had on iHeartRadio just streaming Johnny's House because they were live and they were reporting and they were giving the most current updates. And it was the weirdest feeling of being a local at that time because you could tell being at, the happiest place on earth. Here we are like trying to hold ourselves together, trying to hold cast members we've never met together. And the tourists are just going by like nothing had happened. And my best friend said it really well one time when we were driving home. She said she saw somebody who had a North Carolina plate on their car and she's like, I'm so happy for them. They get to leave. And we get to, she's like, I can't believe, we're a part of this club now that we never asked to be a part of. Right. And it was from, again, the tragedy that happened. I have made amazing friendships. I have made amazing connections. We have supported our community in ways that I sadly don't think we would have ever developed had we not had this tragedy. And right. So it's kind of that idea of a phoenix, we're raising up and we're growing from that experience. But it was just, I literally have goosebumps right now thinking about it because it was so tragic and so horrible and yet so enlightening and so strengthening. So to have such totally different feelings and, again, that's what we're talking about. Yeah. Being able to feel both and being able to honor both, being able to sit here and not cry and have this moment with you guys of talking about that and going back there in my head with all those feelings, but also being able to sit here and smile and say, God, but look at what we've done. And that's beautiful.
It's brought, it's brought unity in a lot of ways, not by any means where we should be. And we keep resounding that because it's true. But I like what you said, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, like how important that is. I was in West Palm at the time. We hadn't moved back here yet, but I was I was part of that group when Pulse originally opened. And, I remember the phone calls and I still have the Snapchat saved from my friends that we lost that night that sent them before it happened. Like, those things for me are a great remembrance of the time of joy that was happening before this horrible thing happened. But I think and we talked about this before. I think it's important for us to remember and kind of resound that. But at the same time, Patti said this earlier, also remember where we've come from and the aspect of like what, I guess kind of the same thing you had said, Lindsey, of rising from the ashes. What good has come out of this? Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the healing process. That's part of grieving, if I'm not mistaken, remembering those things. It doesn't negate from the tragedy by any means. If anything, it brings light unto what is taking place afterwards. We saw a community from all over the world, and we're going to see that tomorrow at noon with the 49 bells that takes place. There'll be bells ringing all over the world in remembrance of this. And I think it's important that we do self-care and these things that we do, these activities that we have been doing the last several months are so important, because when you have those somber times, when you have those times that maybe you just feel like you just need to cry your eyes out and you can't get it back together, you can take those moments and do these activities, do these things. They're going to kind of help get you regrounded and help get you in that place. And I had this conversation this week with someone. For me, we've done some great activities. The activity last week, I don't know, just hit me so different because it was to me, again, so simple. But I remember when we wrote the words down on the heart, and then when we drew the picture, and then we had people that were watching that were telling the picture that they drew. I could smell, I could sense, I remember those feelings. You know, when you did your Disney, I was standing on Main Street with you. I could smell the popcorn and the cotton candy just so there. And I think that's important because that gives us a break, that gives us peace, even if it's peace for a moment, even if it's rest for a moment. That time is worth it, so we can kind of get our bearings straight and get back into life, because life is always going to be there.
Yeah. And I, you know, I always tell people to, and I've said it time and time again here, is, you know, practice that patience and kindness with yourself.
Yeah.
Because that 2 weeks that I spent, like, boom, 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 boom. And I know, Jason, you talk about it, like, I'm always doing this, I'm always doing that. And I'm like, self-care, self-care, self-care. And, you know, I'll admit I was not the best of it at that time. I was in complete fight mode.
Yeah.
You know, where I remember that morning, right after, again, I got the call, I can laugh at it now. And this is not to be mean, but again, it's that reframing, is that a counselor I met, Vicky, who she's probably comes up to about my chin. She is an older woman.
I think I know who you're talking about.
And at the time when we all got to the center, no one really knew what was going on. And there was concern, like, is there, you know, possibly another person out there? Let's the safety of the people that have kind of come in here to seek safety. And Vicky was our security guard, and I ended up going out and helping her. And we just stood in front of the door, because at the time we didn't have security set up. I mean, there was nothing set up. And it was just, now I look back and I'm like, we were both in that fight mode, but I'm like, what would Vicky be able to do? You know, and she,
we might be small, but we are mighty.
I know.
Really loud.
and for those who have ever seen the You Matter card, that's Vicky. A lot of that came out of this event.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, but she was out there and she was like, I'm ready for him. You know, that was her mentality. And I can honestly say, for me, it all came crashing down and it took me like 3 months to go to Pulse after everything occurred. And I just sat there and cried. And I am not a crier. Anybody who knows me, I am not a crier. I really am not. It's not anything against people who cry. Just, I've never really had it in me. But I sat in front of it. It took me 3 months to even go in that location. Like, if I was sent somewhere, I would purposely take a different one-way route to avoid it. But I knew I had to confront it. And I just sat there and bawled my eyes out, you know, and I had people join me. We were like, hey, we're in this together at this point, you know, so acknowledge that, you know, and you hear me and Lindsey say it all the time, acknowledge how you're feeling. If you need to do it, cry. If you need to scream, scream. You know, if you need to go for a run, go for a run. If you need to zone out for a bit, zone out.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the first times, at least in my life, where I got to really understand, appreciate, and value being an ally.
Yeah.
And then having to stand up to people who would question me and be like, well, you're not a part of the community. Why do you care? Why are you helping? And it's like, but I am a part of the community, because it doesn't matter. At this point, we're all here. And so learning what it meant to be an ally. Mm-hmm. And now seeing it now again, people having that opportunity to they're learning what it means to be an ally, and what that responsibility really means. I heard an amazing definition of the word responsibility the other day during a podcast, and it was actually was a really good one. It's like, the definition of responsibility is if you have the ability to respond, that's the responsibility. Mm-hmm. It's such a simple thing. It's just such a simple concept, but I've never heard it broken down that way. Mm-hmm. And it has really, really changed my perspective of what does being an ally and what does responsibility mean. Because again, if I have the ability to respond,
mm-hmm.
duh, like, you know, but yeah. I think that again, like for me, learning about being an ally, that was amazing. That was an amazing gift I was given from that experience.
I think that resounds again so much right now, just like you said. And I think it's respectful when an ally is questioned like you may have been, and both of you may have been, well, why are you here if you're not part of it? My response in many situations when I've had to be an ally or have been allies with people, it's because that's my responsibility. That's who I am. It's ingrained in me to fight for people who need fighting for. And allies are important, and allies are important in all aspects, whether it's people of color, whether it's the trans community, the gay and lesbian community, whether it's the heterosexual community, whoever. Everybody needs allies. Everybody needs support. I think it's really, really important. And Jennifer said, that's me right now. I'm in fight mode. I think from past experiences that I went through, all of this brings up old hurt.
Yep.
And people never formally apologized.
Yeah.
So and this goes back to like just traumas that just pile up. And I said this last night, right now at 12:23 Eastern Standard Time on June 11th, we have never been here before. We have never been in this place where we've had racism like it's never been, where we've had anti-trans issues, where we've had COVID, where we've had remembering a tragedy like Pulse. We have never been in a place where we are now, and nobody really has the answer. You all and many others didn't have the answer during the Pulse tragedy when this happened. All we knew is we needed to get together and we needed to unite and we needed to come together and try to find a way to fix this. And I think this world is where we're at. It's where we're at right now. And I'm seeing it with my youth. I'm seeing it with our young people. What can we do? What can we do? What can we do to make a difference and change this? And Jennifer, to kind of reiterate that, it's hard. It's hard when you have those experiences, and they bring up hurt. These things trigger the hurt. I think it's important in life, period. And this isn't just this; it's anything. Is how do we respond?
Yes. And I think it's really important to, and we've talked about this in the past, is in moments where there's trauma upon trauma upon trauma upon trauma, and things are triggering, pretty constant for a lot of people right now, is to recognize what you need to do for your well-being.
Right.
Is it I need to reduce my media, my social media? I know that like when videos of a lot of these recent incidences are being just broadcast all over social media, or when they released the 911 tapes when Pulse occurred, I told everybody, do not listen, because no one was really ready for it. And you need to know yourself. Is that something that you are doing out of curiosity because you feel like you need to, but is it really good for you? And, taking that moment, but also being able to look back and say, where have I personally grown? Maybe you weren't the best self-advocate, but now you are. Like Lindsey said, I thought I was an awesome ally, but I gained. And every time I engage with different cultural groups, I feel like I become a better ally by learning, and for me, I have that mental reminder, but I have physical reminders. I know you guys don't see it, but I have like tattoos, and I do have a Pulse tattoo right on my wrist. I can't miss it anytime I talk because I'm a hand talker, if y'all notice. But I it's something that I want to remember because it is the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And
absolutely,
it's being able to see again that light in the darkness. How far we have come. Even with recent current events. I work with a lot of different people of color, and I understand it's not enough, like you said, Jason. It's not where we need to be by any means, but just in the last week, statues have come down.
Yeah.
People are pulling out of companies.
Yeah.
Right.
People are boycotting. Laws are now being discussed.
Yeah.
There are things, apologies are being made.
Yeah.
And I think
conversations are happening.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Can y'all hear me? I had to put my headphones in.
Yep.
Okay. So I think that's what important, and I want to recognize this, that apologies are being made. And we have to step back and understand that whether we want to accept apologies sometimes,
right,
that it's a first step. Again, it's not where we need to be. But it is a baby step. And we have to understand that sometimes that's the beginning That's the only thing somebody knows to say, or that's the beginning of a change. And we should monitor that and watch that and understand that. Lee says, it is an amazing and difficult and even helpless and hopeful time.
Yeah.
I know last week when I had the Zoom call with the Alliance with One Orlando, we all had to go around. They had us all go around and give words that describe where we're at. And I posted it this last week, and I thought it was powerful because there were words of helplessness and lack of hope and difficult and pain and anger, but there were words of hopefulness, hope. There, you know, so it will keep saying this, rising from the ashes of the phoenix. You know, this trouble, there are the positive things that can and will come out of this. And I just, for me personally, I always reflect back to my phrase about the 2x4. I just believe that life gives you that 2x4 or a rock or whatever, and you have a choice in your hand what to do with it. And I personally choose to lay that stone or lay that piece of wood down as another path, another stepping stone in my journey, another place in my path and in my journey. What you do with it before it leaves your hand to the ground, that's your choice. But, you know, I think it's important that we recognize that these are things that can make us stronger if we choose to.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of conversations this week about those more uncomfortable emotions, you know, hopelessness, helplessness, you know, fear, all of those, and really helping people to understand how important those are.
Yeah.
Because those are the ones that make change. If we didn't have those uncomfortable emotions, if we didn't have those emotions that nobody enjoys feeling, nothing would change.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we all love to feel happy and positive and uplifted and encouraged. Those are great. Those are always like the pink fuzzy emotions, you know, like woo, endorphins, you know, all again, the nerd brain. But those other ones are so important. And to honor them and to hold them and to acknowledge them and to give them the power that they have is literally world changing.
Dolly Parton says it the best. You can't have a rainbow without the rain.
Yep.
And you know, it's true. You can't have hope if you've not had hopelessness.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, you can't be on a mountain if you've not been in a valley and climbed that mountain. So, you know, I think it doesn't make it easy. It doesn't help. No. It doesn't make it unpainful, but it's what can make us stronger. And in that, and in the midst of all this, we have great activities and great things that we could do. You want to, we forgot to tell people to get crayons and pencils and paper.
They should just come prepared every week.
Yeah, you should just, if you're watching this broadcast now, you should always have paper and pencil and crayons or something ready to go, markers. And then, of course, you can watch this later and do these activities later. So you want to go ahead and move on to the activity? Yeah,
because we want to make sure we did make a awareness of the remembrance of Pulse, but we also want to broadcast that self-care. So we've got a fun little activity, and this is good for all ages. As you see, we're all ages right now. So if you have a piece of paper, get some crayons, pencils, pens, markers, whatever floats your boat and you have around. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our hand today. Okay. And I already pre-drew this out because I thought it would be hard to show people how to do it. So we're going to trace our hand, but we're going to leave the tips open because they're going to be part of our tree branches. So just kind of trace your hand and leave that part open.
And again, no right or wrong.
No right or wrong.
There's no judgment in my bad artistic talent. I do drag, not draw art.
Not bad. It's unique.
It's unique. But I can trace.
There you go. And then with that part, you're going to make the branches any which way you want. They can be a singular branch. They can branch off. However you want to make your branches, you make your branches.
Man, it's like I'm back in the office.
No markers. Did you write on yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Do we do one or more than one branch off of each finger?
Whatever floats your boat. Whatever calls to you.
And while we're doing this, you all participate. If you have any comments or questions, as always,
So,
talk about. Oh, you filled it in. Okay.
there's my funky branches. They're my funky branches.
Very Nightmare Before Christmas or Corpse's Bride.
I know, it's shocking, right?
Right.
And you can use whatever colors you want. You can make pink tree, blue tree, green tree. Doesn't matter. I just happen to have a black marker and a green marker, but you can use whatever colors you want.
Okay.
Maybe I'll take some other colors in here. There you go. Okay. So now, here's the tricky part, my friends.
Oh boy.
We're going to put leaves on our branches.
Oh
But
boy.
each leaf, I want you to list something about yourself that you like. Could
Ooh.
be external, could be internal. What do I mean by that? It could be, I like my eyes. I like my hair. I like my kindness. I like my acceptance. I like my vulnerability. I like my toe color. Whatever you want, external, internal, what do you like about yourself?
On each branch, or just are we starting with one?
On each leaf that you put. So you can have 5 leaves, you can have 50 leaves.
And while we're doing this too, if you guys want to type in things you like about put the words out there if you'd like to, like we did last week, kind of put them out there.
Yeah, whatever you guys list about yourself, I'd love to hear about it. So we've gotten to know you somewhat through here, but then we can get to know you even more.
So as many as you want.
Yep. You could fill your tree. You could leave it partially empty. Mine, I'm pretty sure, is going to be partially empty right now. I drew a lot of branches.
I think I overbranched. Yeah.
It's okay. Kathy, my friend Kathy from California, she says determination.
Yeah, good one. Yes.
Jennifer says giving, passionate, selflessness, honest, and authentic.
There you go. Yes.
And loyal. Absolutely. I can see all those.
And this is something, again, you can add to. You don't need to finish it all now. But this is something that when we're having those bad days, we can focus on the good stuff about us.
My tree looks like I'm growing trees out of my fingers like Groot.
I am Groot.
Little Groot. Well, this must be teenage Groot.
There you go. There's mine. So you can see my leaves are all funky and weird too. But that's the way I roll. Oops. I gotta push this up here.
I did a green tree branch and black. I don't know why I picked up black words.
Doesn't matter. It's your tree. Like I said, you could have a pink tree, orange tree, green leaves, black leaves, brown leaves, whatever colors you wanted.
Are we sharing some of ours?
Yeah, go ahead.
Lee said tenacious and charitable. Absolutely. I can see that too. It's very true.
That's a good one.
What you got?
I have brave, kind, creative, adventurous, willing to learn, honest, a leader. What else did I put on here? Oh, my eye color.
Yeah.
Earth friendly, like environmentally conscious, generous, compassionate, empathetic. Did I say adventurous?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's probably it. There's a lot on here. I went there.
What do you got, Jason?
I have a word that I can't think of to what it would be.
Maybe
I bring people together.
So great networking.
Networker. I don't know why I was like, I should know that word.
But that's what we're here to help each other.
Right? Networker is definitely selfless, a leader, giving, hard-headed. I have no problem admitting that. Passionate, acceptance, and love.
Okay. Very nice. I can see all those too. So I've got for mom, smart, kind, being me authentically, dedicated, ally, a mom to two-legged children, giving, a counselor, caring, friendly, my nerdiness, which I always admit to and I own. My eyes, everyone says they look like cat eyes. Non-judgmental, advocate, and the listener.
Awesome. Kathy said the word would be unifier.
There you go.
That would be
Yep. That's a good one too. So
yeah,
you can see that with everything going on, it's sometimes hard to, and I know a lot of people might think it's selfish to focus on yourself, but this is when we talk about that emotional intelligence, this is part of that, is identifying things about you. And where do those experiences come from? Where do those emotions come from? Where do those thoughts come from? And knowing the difference between a thought and a feeling is a big one. But this is all the foundation of how we respond and are proactive or reactive to things.
So can you just expound a little bit on the difference between thought and a feeling?
Okay. Lindsey, you want me to?
I can tell you my pet peeve of late.
Uh-huh.
And once I say this to you guys, it's going to be really frustrating because you will never not hear it. When people say, I feel that this is what's happening right now.
Yes.
That's not a feeling. That's a thought. So I think this is what's happening right now.
Yes.
Feeling is using those wonderful feeling words. And I've got some charts, Jason. I'll send you a couple charts so we can help people realize feelings.
So Lindsey gave that great example. That's an example when I like when people say, well, I feel like I might be running late. No. I think I'm going to run late. And that's really the difference between a thought and a feeling. Is a feeling is I feel tired, I feel happy, I feel nostalgic, I feel upset, I feel frustrated. Those emotion words are feelings.
And usually they're one word. Usually they're one word. Sometimes a little bit two-ish, but if you've got more than two-ish words, it's not a feeling. It's a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but I think that's great because not everybody would I never would have thought that analogy and that.
And I feel okay or I feel fine are not emotions either.
No,
those are fact, one of my supervisors years ago, when people tell me they're fine, and I'll keep it family friendly.
Yeah,
fine is funnied up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So when it says I'm fine, they really are fine. But again, that's not an emotion.
No.
And neither is I'm okay. Okay is not an emotion.
No.
I think that's important for people to hear because we fall in that. I know I do. Absolutely.
So, some alternatives for fine and okay are content, happy, joyful,
somber,
upset, sad.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I wanted to build on that because I'm sure I'm not the only one that
I have a really great game, emotions game that we can play next week. That is, I always win, but I will try really hard not to win next week. But I always play with literally 5-year-olds. So, but it's awesome. It's awesome to do with adults because it all of a sudden does allow you to figure out what feelings are, and what your go-to quick ones are.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I will encourage people to think about is the Seven Dwarfs. Those are some feelings. Those are some feeling dwarfs.
Yep.
That's really good. Really quick, Jennifer. No, I love that. why didn't I think of that all the years of Disney?
Because we're not taught this.
Right.
So again, going back to, I know we had this conversation backstage, but we're not taught these things when we're children, and because we're not taught when we're children, our parents don't teach us because they weren't taught. It's an ongoing thing, and it's learning a new language. And the sooner we can learn it, the easier it comes. But at the same time, as adults, you can still learn it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Social skills.
Yes.
A little glimpse into backstage this morning. We were talking about social skills are not taught anymore, and they're not. They're really not.
Because again, you're allowed to be mad.
Yeah.
You are not allowed to hit somebody because you are mad.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And it sounds so simple, but it's not, because people don't get that. So Jennifer said she added mom, compassionate, animal lover, and vocal to her tree. Her tree branches look like a mixture of mermaid fins and alien claws. Hey.
So does mine.
That's the way it goes. It's good. I definitely I think that key that we just talked about of the right wording and understand the difference between emotion and thoughts and all that. I think it's important. I mean, it for some people it may be normality.
Mm-hmm.
But for some people it's not, because I'm the first one to go, I feel fine.
Yep.
When in actuality in my head, I'm going, actually, I feel like crap and I've got a lot on my mind. I'm exhausted, and I try to be more honest when people ask, how are you? Well, I want to say I'm doing absolutely amazing and dancing in circles, but when all actuality, I'm tired,
So even what you just said, though, you didn't really say it. You said one feeling word.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and that's why I brought up the fact of feelings versus thoughts, because people have them so intertwined.
Right.
And I know when I work with people, I'm like, I get it. It's a word. Yeah. But if we can't acknowledge the word, we can't ever process what we're truly feeling. That leads to a belief. I often will have people also say, think about that feeling that you have and do a body scan, almost like you're going through an MRI. Where do you feel it at? Because our body retains those emotional responses. Yeah. And the great example I give is, if you remember when you were, say, in high school or college or middle school or whatever, and you had a test. If you were like me, that was like time, right? The nail biting time. And you got that feeling in your stomach.
Yeah.
That is a physical response to an emotion of anxiety or nervousness, right? So our body retains that. And sometimes we're not even aware, because we're not taught these emotional pieces, that our body's reacting. And we're like, why does that hurt? And if there's no medical causation, 10 to 1, it's because of what's going on up here. Mm-hmm. And that's important, to put a name to it, recognize it, sit in it for at least a little bit, process it, so then you can acknowledge it.
Do you guys want some really fun nerd brain facts?
Sure.
Okay. This is going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind, because when I learned it, I was like, wait a minute. Scientists have proven that we have neurons, so brain neurons, in our heart and in our stomach.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So when we eat chocolate and we feel happy, it is because the neurons in our stomach are releasing serotonin, which is our happy chemical. So chocolate does equal happiness. Science is awesome, guys. The brain is so amazing.
So to expound on that, when your brain is stressed and when you have panic attacks, your chest hurts.
And your stomach hurts.
Because they are all connected and in line.
Yeah.
Wow. Our bodies are just...
We have tiny pieces of brain in our gut. That's why, that we've always been told, like, listen to your gut, your instincts are in your gut. Well, because there actually is like a little tiny bit of our brain in our gut. So it's extremely important and extremely, extremely valuable.
That is nerdy time with Lindsey. That was actually really cool. That's so cool.
It's so cool.
I love it.
I love it.
So, does anybody have anything else they want to say and comment and chime in? Any thoughts about anything we've talked about today. I love the activity of the tree. I think it's something you can constantly add to.
I have something to say about the tree.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the other things about the tree that I think are so awesome is identifying our strengths is always important, but also by identifying our strengths, we can then maybe look at some of our areas of growth because we all have them. You know, Patti and I both had this professor in grad school who probably influenced my life in more ways than I can even speak. And she always would tell us, it doesn't matter who you are, you have an ism.
Yep.
And you need to acknowledge your ism, explore your ism, and decide if you want to keep or let go of your ism, because we all have them. And so being able to have that reflection of, but using your strengths to identify your areas of growth is so important, because again, it's kind of like going to the gym. If we go into the gym for the very, very first time and you go crazy and make yourself throw up and make it to where you can't walk the next day, likely you're not ever going to go back and do that again.
Right.
But if you go in there knowing your strengths, you know, knowing like, hey, I really do enjoy dancing. That's something that maybe I'm good at, but even if I'm not good at it, I enjoy it. So going to the gym and doing a dance class instead of running on the treadmill for 30 minutes, you're using a strength that is helping you to identify an area of growth. So that's one of the most amazing things I think about this tree is that you have all of your strengths wrote out. I will never find that camera. There it is. And with those, you can use those to challenge yourself and to identify those areas of growth.
Absolutely. I love that. Kathy says, do people feel similar emotions in the same area, like anxiety in the gut, stress in the shoulders?
Yes.
So yes, oftentimes, because if you watch a couple ones back, I know when we had crew on, we were talking about like EMDR and things of that nature. And we do see that, especially with emotions and with any kind of trauma response, they are typically in the same areas. Now, are there outliers? Absolutely. I had one person who experienced it in their big toe. That was new for me.
Yeah.
Most people, it is in the neck and shoulders,
Yeah.
in the chest region, stomach, and sometimes the intestinal.
Yeah.
Right. But I have had people who, and then also in the head. That's also a big one, the tingliness in the head. But I've had people who are like, well, just this part of my nose. So generally, yes, people do experience it in the same times. Like if you think about when like COVID hit, most people probably had a lot of neck pains, chest pains, and stomach aches and headaches, right? Again, head, chest, stomach. Now, did everyone feel it there? No, because again, and I've said this 100 times, and you'll probably hear me say it another 100 times, not everyone fits in the same little box with the same little bow. So there are people who do experience it otherwise, but the majority of people, yes, head, chest, stomach, GI.
And another fun thing about that is right after I graduated grad school, I went on a cruise thinking, like this whole 3.5 years, I've just accomplished this huge goal. Like, oh my gosh, celebrating going on a week-long cruise, right? And of course, you book a spa treatment because, hello, you've earned it, right? Well, I did a fancy one and I did a reflexology one on my feet. And I say all the time, I wish I would have never done that, even though it's a catch on words. I'm so glad I did. But at the same time, I wish I would have never done it because I realized how much stress I hold in my feet, specifically the bottom of my feet. And so being aware again of those aches and pains and that, tension or, asking questions. That's one thing I've done a lot more recently is, when I go to get a massage, asking the massage therapist, I'm feeling this here from a physical standpoint. What's this up? Because where's this connected to? And that's what I learned from the reflexology with my feet was some of the areas in the bottom of my feet, they connect up to your liver. They connect up to your gut. So again, I tend to have a lot of my anxiety in my gut. I get a very anxious stomach. And so duh, there's even more connection to it all the way down at the freaking bottom of my feet. And the good thing about that though is now I can check in with myself and be like, okay, like not even knowing that I'm doing it, I'm clenching my feet, or I'm clenching my toes, or I'm like going like this with the bottom of my feet. And had I not asked questions and had that experience, I would have been like, I just got bad feet. No,
Yep.
Hi.
That's why that body scan is so important. Like, okay, what is the emotion and where am I feeling it?
Yeah.
Because the next time that feeling kind of hits your body, you can recognize the emotion much easier.
Some
Instead
people
of the happy, mad, sad.
Happy, mad, sad. Yep. Very good. Good question, Kathy.
Yeah.
Anybody else? We're winding down here for the day. Wow, that 450 something minutes went by fast.
Yeah.
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 I think there's been a little delay with questions, so we'll give them another couple moments. But
I still think that we need to bring the teens on one time.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great connection, because I'm sure that they have conversations and topics and ideas that maybe we're not addressing, because I know like I work a lot with kids and teens.
Mhm.
And I try to bring in that, but at the same time, when they're not in my face, sometimes I forget that they have lots of things to do.
I will send out another message today and ask if they want to join, so I can see if next week they do. If not next week, we should do that whatever you said that you're going to win.
Yeah.
Will be. Yeah. That's a challenge. I'm not competitive usually.
I'm not competitive at all, actually.
Me either, but I always win at Sorry and Uno. So
that's one of the best things of working with 5-year-olds, because they are so competitive. And that's I should put on my strengths tree is that I'm not competitive. So being able to help them to see like you can just play and enjoy it. You don't have to win. Because 5-year-olds are not good at that at all. Not
true.
Heck, some adults aren't good at it either, Lindsay. I said some adults aren't good at it either.
Oh yeah, no, trust me. I've left card games on several occasions because I'm like, y'all, this is too much. Like, I'm not getting into fights with y'all for this. Like,
cardboard. Why are you fighting?
Not doing it. Like,
too funny. All right, so I think we're gonna go ahead and segue into closing. I don't see any more comments or questions. Lindsay, some closing comments.
Closing comments: be kind to yourselves. Check in with friends. I think that's been another thing for me this week that I've forgotten to do. And last night I made a point to do it with somebody who I knew was personally affected by Pulse, and it was, thank you so much for reaching out. Thank you for remembering. And so check in with peeps. Find your peeps, but don't put your peeps in the microwave because they blow up. That's another thing I learned in grad school.
Yeah.
I love peeps.
Don't put them in the microwave.
Don't let them blow up.
Yeah.
Too funny. Patti.
As I always say, practice kindness and patience with yourself. Really focus on some self-care. With the anniversary being tomorrow and everything else that's going on, give yourself a break. Like I said, take a break from media, the social media, news, newspapers, whatever resource it is. If you need help, reach out, by all means. Focus on those coping skills, some of them that we've taught you, some that you've identified on your own. And because I put it up, love wins, y'all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All love.
And I hope everyone continues to remember being Pride Month. I know a lot of events have been canceled. Let's celebrate and remember where we came from. And some activities and stuff that's going on tonight. I have an interview that's being premiered on Thrive, so I'll post it tonight. Mama Ashley Rose interviewed with the Thrive LGBT. Let's see, tomorrow at noon is the 49 Bells, and then at 7 p.m. the One Pulse has a ceremony. And then let's see, I'm missing something. Story time on Sundays at 2:00. This week we will be reading and talking about Harvey Milk and some more of LGBT history. And as always, you know, with everything that we love to say, that we all love, that you're loved, accepted, and wanted. And we'll see you all. Let's see. There we go. And we'll see you all next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.